Good morning, friends. My name is Darren St. George, and welcome to another virtual road trip with Sal St. George. If you've been with us before, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to see you. If this is your first time, welcome to the party. This is how we start each and every week, celebrating entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons, and this morning is, oh boy, no exception. We are visiting the Volo Museum in Volo, Illinois, and we're going to be joined by the marketing director, Jim Wojdyla. If you have any questions for Jim or Sal, we'd love to hear them. Please share them in the chat and I'll happily relay those over to Sal and Jim. And speaking of Sal, let's get to the man of the hour. Sal Dad, are you there? Also, I see a lot of new names in the chat. If this is your first time, please say hello and make yourself at home. Everybody make sure they're welcome. Hey, Pop, how are you doing?
Good morning, son, and good morning, America. My goodness, we have people from everywhere. If you would like to just put it in our chat, let us know where you are located specifically. We would love to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And let's get Jim right in here. You know, this was something I stumbled across, and let's get Jim and we'll start the conversation with him.
You bet. Hi, Jim.
Hello. Oh,
good morning.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Jim.
Good morning, guys.
The game begins, and the first thing I've got to know is what are you looking at, Darren?
It moves. He's animated. Wow, we are off to the races. Okay. Sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to interrupt your opening question.
No, is that Herbie?
Yeah, this is Herbie from Herby Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan. So this was the scene where he was in the junkyard. All of this dirt and rust and everything is actually Hollywood makeup. It's a perfectly clean car, but it's made to look like a junk car. And there's about 7 miles of wiring through here. And there was a whole crew of people that would, move the eyes and the bumpers and all the different things when it was being filmed.
And you can do that now yourself?
We have it automated. So we have it on a motion sensor. When you walk by, Herbie will say hello to you.
Okay, we got to go backwards. How did this all begin? How did this? Because let the people know right off how large this museum is.
So Volo Museum, we're right in between. We're about an hour outside of Chicago. We're right in between Chicago and Milwaukee. It's a very small town. No one's really heard of Volo. And about 50 years ago, it's a family business. There's no corporate funding. We have no financial backing. This is all self-funded and self-stimulated. So it started as 2 brothers just flipping cars, and then they started drawing attention to it. And now we're one of the largest classic car dealerships in the world. We have over 300 classic collectible cars, which I'll show you a little bit later, but that's been the meat and potatoes of the business for about 20 or 30 years. And then, but you have a very strong demographic when you're just doing classic cars. So the car guy would bring his family, and the family's like, oh, and so they'd have to be dragged around this museum all day of cars. So they got a couple replicas of a Batmobile. I think it was Knight Rider and Ecto One, or I forgot which other car it was. They were just replicas. But George Barris, the guy who designed and created the Batmobile and the monstrous cars and countless other Hollywood cars, was at an auction. The same auction where they were just buying regular classic cars, and they got to know each other. And he's like, you need some Hollywood cars. And they're like, all right, well, what do you think? And he's like, I have some Batmobiles. And they're like, okay, George Barris, if you can get us a Batmobile, we would gladly display it. And he followed through. So we had only 3 cars, but it brought in this different demographic than we normally had, which was now, movie enthusiasts. They like cars, but cars are the biggest, they're as much of a character as the regular actors are. So there was this different dynamic that we could still stay true to the cars, but now we're expanding out to, these movie cars. So this is about 20 years ago or so. And now we have over 50 Hollywood cars. Most of these are now screen used real Hollywood characters from movies and TV shows. But then we didn't stop there. This family is a very ADD family in the best way possible, as I am too. So once we see something, none of this was planned. All of this started as just a dealership, and then something would come across. Oh, these are beautiful trains. We should add these. What? These are fiberglass boats from the 50s. Only a few of these were ever made. We should have a boat exhibit. A Disney collection. We should have a Disney, so it just kind of evolved, and we just built buildings and
have a Titanic collection.
Yes, about a year and a half ago, we added a Titanic museum that all started auto-based. There were 2 cars, the car in the movie where Jack and Rose get to know each other a little bit better. That was actually the car on the ship. It was the only car on the ship. And there were only 2 ever made. It was a concept car. So one's at the bottom of the ocean with the Titanic, and we have the other car. So that's where it all started. And then we found 4 or 5 other cars that were tied to the most famous people on the ship. And then we built a Titanic museum around there. So it's a little bit of a different angle than a regular Titan. You're not just looking at dishes and spoons and stuff like that.
And you also have a dinosaur exhibit.
Yes, we have a full 15,000 square foot animatronic dinosaur. Again, because we want to appeal to everybody. So now what used to be, oh, you're screen sharing. Okay.
I am. I just want people to see.
Okay.
Like, this is what we're talking about. The Volo Museum. There is a lot.
The museum itself is on 35 acres, and then we have another 35 acres, which we're now doing trolley rides and double-decker Disney bus rides, and we have a Halloween show themed with actors and a bunch of stuff that's going on. And then Christmas, we have actors, and you save Santa, and you go through all of these elaborate time warp things, and it's a lot of fun. So we have 75 acres that we're on. It started literally from a barn and a dirt floor, and it's grown into this kind of a Disneyland of the Midwest. It's really nothing like it. And the more that we added to it, the more we try to keep in mind, okay, we need an ice cream parlor. We need to sell beer. We need rides. People want to do, we wanted to really encapsulate. If you come out here and you're spending the day, I'll show you the grounds in a little bit, but it's nice. You want to have a beer, or have a milkshake, or have a coffee, and just like take everything in, because it really feels like nowhere else. And as the more I'll show you,
Jim, did you grow up in this environment?
No, I grew up, I was a movie buff. I wanted to be a Disney artist. So I was on the art side of it. And I wanted to grow up and be a Disney animator. And then I got into marketing. I went to Columbia College in Chicago. And I'm also a musician. So I got into the entertainment industry. And just all of those networks and circles kind of kept crossing. And I ended up here about 3 years ago. And it's just been like a match made in heaven, because it's all of the things that we nerd out about. And the more that you learn, like you see all of those museums that you've shown from in the segue, from Robin Williams to Charlie Chaplin to pogo sticks to whatever it is, everything has this interesting story. And it's nice to see the stuff in person, but the story of how we acquired it, the story of how they used it. Did you know there were 6 of these? What did they do afterwards? There's so many other follow-up questions to every interesting piece that we have here. And they're like little kids again. The founder's 73, and he comes in with Carhartts. He's driving bulldozers. He's like, I just found this rocket that Evil Knievel. And we're like, okay, let's see what are we adding this week, But it's infectious, because, there's a genuine love to share the stuff with people. And you get to see almost everything here. It's a museum based on nostalgia. It's all history, and it's all, beautiful motorcycles and cars and everything else. But everything has an emotional attachment. So you'll see a 90-year-old man walking through, and he's barely moving, and he sees his first car, the 57 Chevy that and he just lights up. You just see a different transformation take place. And he gets all excited telling you the stories about what I did with this, and why did I sell it? And, it's such a neat connection to see on so many different levels and generations. So it's nice to preserve the history, and that's our main goal, but also we got to tell the stories. That's the fun part,
Okay, we're holding you back. Let's get started.
Incredible, Jim.
This is wonderful, and I love you used a word that I was about to describe you with, infectious. You can feel the affection and the love you have for what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And the family, it's not a money grab. They invest all of our profits every year, go right back into the business. So they genuinely want to make every building look better every year. They want to acquire roller skate hot rod, or just random things that you don't see anywhere else. And just
tell us about that roller skate.
So I'll turn the camera around so you can see. So there's George Barris was a famous Hollywood car customizer, but there's a man named Jay Orberg, and he got very famous for customizing random things that you've never seen before and tributes. So this would be a tribute to the 50s diner movement. So this is a fully functional roller skate hot rod. The tires all work. I mean, it's loud. It sounds awesome. The driver sits all the way up there on top, if you can see the steering wheel, and you have to walk back here, and there's a hatch here that you have to climb up into I don't know if you can see if it goes all the way up. And he made a tribute. I'll show you a couple other cars in a different showroom. He made a tribute to
I can guarantee you, Jim, we've been doing over 50 or 60 of these so far. Nobody has a giant roller skate.
This is a player piano Jay Orberg also made. This was a tribute to Elton John. It's a fully functional hot rod and a fully functional player piano. So you could sit at a traffic light and play the piano if you want to, or put in a quarter and let it play itself. But this is a fully functional hot rod. So this is one of several that's in his collection that we have here. We have a 30-foot guitar hot rod that's a tribute to Johnny Cash, and we have a lot of fun stuff I'll show you in a little bit.
Unbelievable. And I see a lot of cars, like from the Disney movie cars.
Yeah, so this area right here is what we call our Disney gallery. We have a few of the cars. This is actually, obviously, it's from an animated movie, but this is an actual NASCAR car that was converted to Lightning McQueen. And we got Tomato here. But we also have Disney cars, or I'm sorry, Disney parade cars. So all the cars in this aisle here were used in the probably late 80s, early 90s, in all of the Disney World parades. If you went there for the last 10, 15 years, these were the cars that were used in the parade. And each one of these is a character in itself. They have speakers in here, and Minnie blows bubbles, and there's, little trinkets and things that are always moving and making noise. This was
wait before you run off on that one. How did you acquire from Disney? How did you acquire this? Were they selling them off?
They sell them. It's a mix between. We've been doing this long enough now where we're known not even nationwide, worldwide, with different collectors. So I'll show you in a minute all of the different Disney collections that we have here. This is a guy in Australia, but he's heard of us. So a lot of people now reach out to us. But you'll be amazed what you'll find on like eBay or Facebook Marketplace. We comb it all the time because we'll just have a car from the Fast and the Furious. This guy just had it. He was the transportation coordinator, and it's been sitting in his garage, and his wife started yelling at him. So he just put it up on Facebook Marketplace. So we get a lot of stuff from either collectors. Now we're on a short list. So Hollywood Studios or Disney or whatever else might call us if they're releasing a collection, or they know that we're a museum that will preserve it and tell its story. So a lot of times they'll
Jim, is that the taxi from Roger Rabbit?
Oh, I wish. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. This is Dizzy Lizzy. This was made for Walt Disney in the 1950s, and it's a Model T car. So I don't know if you've ever seen or driven a Model T, but it's not a steering wheel with a gas and a brake. This is like a full lever system. It's very different than how you would drive a normal car. But this one used to pop a wheelie. So when Walt would go out to parades or make an appearance, he would come out in this little car, and everybody's like, oh, it's a cute little car. But then he could pop a wheelie, and you can spin in circles and drive around. So this is a really neat piece that there's a one of one. There's nothing like it. Goofy's car, the axles are built off, so it wobbles the entire time it drives, and it's like a jalopy. So a lot of the stuff falls off and makes noises, and smoke puffs out, and it's really fun. So we have these parade cars here. And then on the other side, we got these from collectors. In the 80s and 90s, the Disney stores were huge. They were in every mall across the world. I mean, when you go in there, it was an experience. It wasn't just a retail store. I mean, they would have these beautiful displays. They would have, when you walked in, you felt like you're in this little mini Disneyland. And that was their objective, is to really make this immersive Disney experience. Well, when the internet came along, these stores almost became obsolete. Actually did become obsolete. So they had all of these pieces that they would use. And when they closed down all the stores, they demanded these got destroyed. They didn't want them in public hands because collectors go nuts for the stuff. And, the Disney name is very protective of their brand. And actually the Lightning McQueen car that you saw over there, we're in Volo, Illinois. There's like 4 stoplights, and we promoted that we had a Lightning McQueen, and we got a call from Disney saying, hold on a second, you do not have Lightning McQueen. You have to change the name. So we had to change it to Thunder McQueen just for that car. But everything else we promoted as a Disney gallery, and they've left us alone. So hopefully it'll stay that way. But yeah, collectors, I mean, each one of these little segments or pieces of collections probably go for $50,000 to $70,000. Collectors are paid just for these little figurines. You don't see them anymore. And collectors go bananas for the stuff. So we got probably 8 or 9 different displays here.
Oh,
this is a fun one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just
slow down. Let's see.
Sorry.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Incredible. And it's so nice to remember the Disney store. It's also nice to remember malls.
Seriously. But it was, I mean, as a kid, that was an experience. I remember walking. I mean, I love Disney anyways, but I walked in and you're just like, you're wowed by it before you even start looking at the stuff. You're just like, it's on its own little theme park. And it just made you feel good. The music was playing and you got to see all the stuff, and there was just so much life and animation and personality. And yeah, it's really fun to have collections like this.
Jim, when you get these types of figurines, are you also acquiring the backdrops, the set pieces for them?
No, a lot of the stuff is, we just collected this. We designed the backdrops. So all of these displays, even I believe this was even built too. We have a team of extremely talented people on staff, artists and construction workers and mechanics. So when we need something, if we want to design a nice arch or a new display, we have a construction worker or a carpenter that used to build sets for plays. So they're very creative and inventive people. So we can build pretty much everything we need to complete an exhibit. And if not, I'll design a backdrop or some sort of a banner or something around it. We'll try and add more audio video things, just because the younger generation needs a little bit more interaction and stimulation than previous generations. So some of these are off because we're closed right now. But we're trying to be more interactive.
Your art background comes into good use here.
100%. Yeah, I do all of our commercials, and we make fun videos and skits, and then we make informational videos. So I'm able to edit and do graphic design and help design these exhibits. And yeah, pretty much all of the facets of what I loved and enjoyed doing, I get to do here. And it's a blank canvas. I mean, even though it's an established museum, we're changing it all the time. This whole row was just completely changed. We added a bunch of new stuff. So they're constantly evolving, and they really like celebrate and encourage creativity and ideas. And how else can we tell the story? How else can we display this?
Absolutely, so we have this, incredible.
There's an atom bomb right here. This is a Davy Crockett. This is another thing. Greg Graham's the 73-year-old owner. We're just having a meeting. He's like, guess what I got? And he pulls up his iPad, and we're just like, okay, what is it today? And he's like, an atom bomb. I'm like, what? So this is a Davy Crockett. When they were doing the arms race, I think United States came out with a nuke, and then Russia came out with an even bigger nuke. And the United States was like, well, we got to top them. We're going to come out with an even bigger nuke. And then they're like, well, that's ridiculous. So they came out with these Davy Crockett. So they were little warheads that you could put on a Jeep. And they made like, I think 1,500 of these, or 20, I think it was like 2,000. They made a bunch of these, and they were going to put them all over and place them in different areas. And they were just going to give 3 or 4 sergeants or random soldiers access to these nukes. So they were like, even though it basically was designed to take out like an area of tanks. This couldn't take out a city, but they found out that it's extremely inaccurate to shoot. And then the blast radius, like you could only go maybe a mile or 2, but the blast radius was like 3 or 4 miles. So not only was it super dangerous, they have 2,000 nukes for just random soldiers, which you have to imagine some of them aren't exactly brighter than the other ones. So now you have, their hands are on these nukes that, could basically, it would have ended the world. Yeah. I mean, this could have, triggered something which would have, angered a country, and they would have retaliated, and then we would have retaliated.
But we did just get a comment that the bomb itself, it looks like a bomb from Super Mario's. Right?
Yeah, just put a little angry face on there.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
So these are Duesenbergs. They're not Hollywood, but actually most of these Duesenbergs that we have been rented out recently to Hollywood. Duesenbergs, if you're not familiar, they came out around the Great Depression, and United States was really trying to compete with Europe. Europe was just coming out with these incredible cars all the time, and United States was just, for rich people, they didn't really have anything to flaunt their money. So these 2 boys decided to pool their money together. I think they're based out of Indiana, and they built these Duesenbergs. And at the time, during the Great Depression, you had a choice of either buying 50 Fords, 5 houses, or 1 Duesenberg, to kind of put it to scale. They're still, to this day, can keep up on the highway. They're incredible pieces of art. They're probably my favorite cars of any cars that we have.
Jim, can you show us the dashboard?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
This is also Cruella de Vil's car, isn't it?
Yes, totally. Yes. You can see inside, it's very basic. What I don't like, now I'm a tall guy, but if you can see where the steering wheel is, there's no room. It comes in really tight, where they almost had to add something to turn the wheel, just because you're pinched in there so tight. But this car we just got back. This was used in a commercial with Jason Momoa and Chris Pratt. They did, I think it was a Monopoly commercial or something. So they just used this Duesenberg, and we just got this one back. We had another one that's in our warehouse right now. But Leonardo DiCaprio for The Great Gatsby used it for the movie, and then he painted it yellow. He liked it so much he actually bought it from us and kept it. So these are for Hollywood. The Great Gatsby, and I think there was one, Babylon, that just came. It was about a year ago or 2 years ago. We rented out to Paramount for Babylon as well.
We have a question here, Jim. Do you ever take the cars out, drive them around town?
Okay. Just for the record, it's for marketing purposes. But
Correct,
yes. I just for marketing purposes only. Yeah, we try and take them out. Some of these are, we'll bring them to parades. They're rented a lot, so we'll take them out to different events. They're worth a ton of money, and a lot of times they don't trust me with them, so it has to be a really good marketing opportunity. But a lot of these cars I'll be able to take out to different. This is a old school Good Humor ice cream truck. There's very few of these in this condition left in the world. So if there's an ice cream fest or something, I might, take it out to promote it, especially when we get something.
We see the Good Humor sign on the side of the truck.
On the side of the truck.
Yeah. That brings back memories.
Yeah, this was these trucks were really revolutionary with selling ice cream. To put ice cream on a stick, and then they had a fleet of these guys that were all professionally trained, very Disney-esque. They had the white coats, everything white just meant safety. And then they made their uniforms look very similar to police uniforms to also, not only are they white, that means it's clean. You have these uniforms which promote safety. And then they had the doors, which you could only get on the passenger side, so the driver would never get out and be in danger. So if the kids came up, they always came up on the curb side. But this was a very revolutionary.
Is that menu
style.
Actually from that time period?
No, this is just something that we found.
Okay.
You can't really see inside, but it's this is like probably a 10-inch thick, truly an old school ice box.
You mentioned how expensive the cars are, and we have another question. If you are taking the cars out or lending them to Hollywood, how much insurance do you have to cover?
A lot. There's a lot of insurance. We usually share it if they're renting it, especially for Hollywood studios. They share. They also take out insurance on their end as well. This car actually came back. They messed up the door or something like that during shooting. So a lot of times if a studio is renting a car, it's for like standalone shots. So they either put a green screen behind it or they just use it in a scene. So they'll have it for that. But then the director will be like, oh, you know what? Can we just have them drive down this area? But that's a different level of renting. So a lot of times they'll have a clause or they'll have a motion renting thing where they can actually drive at a certain amount. But they actually had to repaint this and refinish this car because they dinged it up a little bit while shooting. So the owner was not happy about that one. These are amphi cars. These were made in the 60s. Only a small amount of these were made. This car drives straight into water and drives straight out of water. And it goes like 50 miles an hour on land. It's pretty slow in water, but if you see inside, it's pretty much a regular car. So all you do is when you pull up to water, you just hit the little latches that are in the door. So it seals the doors here and doesn't let water in. And then you just drive right on the water. And there's a little prop on the bottom that runs, if you can see, and it just spins. So the whole time the wheels are spinning underwater, the prop's spinning, you can drive around in the water. And then if you come up to another ramp, you can just drive right back out. And Lyndon B. Johnson.
You said the wheels are spinning underwater?
Yeah, the whole time the wheels spin and the prop spins. And that just keeps the momentum going. And there's a funny story. President Lyndon B. Johnson had one of these, and he'd always bring guests over and he'd drive around and they're talking and he'd all pretend that the car was spinning out of control. He's like, oh my God, we're going to crash. And he drives into the water and they all freak out and then he drives off. This here is the tumbler from The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan tumbler. There were 5 of these cars, I believe, that were made. And I knew there'd be stunt cars, but I didn't realize how many different cars you make for a movie, especially action movies like this. So they make what's called the hero car, and that's the screen used car. So most of these stunt cars, they don't really put a lot of beautifying inside because you don't see it. It costs a lot of money. And a lot of times this, it's either meant to crash or jump or speed or, do something. So they're not going to put a bunch of extra money into the car if you're never even going to see it. So this was one of the stunt cars that was used. And what I appreciate about this, truthfully, most movie cars are kind of pieces of crap. There's Hollywood magic. So you can do a lot around the car. They just need the shell for the frames. But if you drive, we have the Mystery Machine from the Scooby-Doo movie and some of these other ones, and they're the biggest hunks of junk. But what I appreciate about Christopher Nolan is he truly wanted these cars to be badass cars. So he wanted a mixture of a Hummer and a Lamborghini, and that's basically what you see here. So these will go 110 miles an hour. They were like NASA tested. So he wanted something that if Batman's going to drive this, he really wanted this car to be used in that, or that, you know, for whatever they're doing. He wanted it to be realistic. So there's not much in here, as you can see. It's pretty bare bones because it's a stunt car. So no one actually sees inside. It's just a stunt driver in a Batman mask. But this car was destroyed in one of the scenes that was all shot in Chicago, and they scrapped it. And one of the guys, I don't know if it was a crew guy or whatever, took all the pieces and basically rebuilt it. So this is about 75% screen use parts, and then he had to add some parts to finish remodeling it. So I'm going to go back by. There's some other amazing cars and all kinds of stories, but I'm going to take you to the Hollywood stuff because there's some really fun cars I'm going to show you as I walk around the corner.
Jim, do you have any James Bond cars?
Yes, we do. We have in the next showroom that we're going to. I'll show you that one over there. Again, it's a stunt car. So
hey, the Flintstones.
Yes, this is from the John Goodman movie, The Flintstones. So this is basically a modified go-kart or golf cart. This one is one of my all-time favorite movie cars. So you remember the Duesenbergs that were over on the other side. This is basically like a Duesenberg on crack. This thing is unbelievable. It cost $1.4 million to build this car. They used it in Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. They only used it in the movie for like a minute or two. But it is like space, like all of this stuff fully works. All the gears work. All of these work. It blows smoke out of the side. Flames shoot out of the back. It's a 3-wheeled car, so it spins in circles. But what one of my favorite features is, I mean, just look at the inside. It's absolutely beautiful artwork. So up here, the rear view mirror is actually a camera. So because Mike Myers is sitting in this costume, he can't really see or drive. So they had a stunt driver sit in the back here, and that rear view mirror of the camera would display what he was seeing here. So the stunt driver would sit back here and drive the car while the actor would act and drive it. So neat.
Unbelievable.
And it's just beautiful.
Couple questions. Do you have any Transformers cars?
We do.
Back to the Future.
We do. Here, I'll walk over to the next. I'll walk over to the next showroom and show you some of the stuff. This is also a experimental. It was basically a rocket-powered single-person helicopter. This was tested by the military for a long time. It's basically like a floating bomb because if it ever, got ignited, it would just explode. But this was we have all of the confidential testing papers that the military used for stuff like that. So that's a story in itself. It's really neat.
And you did just say rocket helicopter.
Rocket helicopter. So they put little rockets on the propellers of the helicopters to go extremely fast. Crazy people and geniuses at the same time. So this is a little bit of our grounds just to give you an idea. So you can pan for fossils there. We have a Rock of Fire animatronic show from the Showbiz Pizza era. We're one of only 2 fully operating shows publicly in the country. So that people have come from, we've only had this up since June. And we've had families come from Alaska, Arizona, Pittsburgh. They'll just camp in the grounds area right there and watch these animatronic shows.
Wait, Showbiz Pizza, is that the there was an animatronic with all sorts of lore about it that
Yeah, the Rock of Fire explosion is we have the fully functional set. So we have that. We have some trains over there that are from movies. We have a plane, it's a Harrier jump jet from Avengers. That's right around the corner. We have a carousel. I might show you that if we have enough time because that's unbelievable. But we just have this grounds where, you can, like I said, you can have an ice cream, have a beer, and just enjoy the scenery. Walk over to showroom 2 and I'll show you some more of these movie cars. This is a movie boat. This is from Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks. This was Tom Hanks's rescue boat that they shot most of the movie in. You can still see some of the bullet holes on the top here. Normally all the TVs and stuff are on, but getting this from Hollywood was crazy. You purchase this for a certain amount of money, but it cost 5 times as much to transport it because one, it had something to do with it being aquatic. There's certain times of the day in certain states that you can transport this stuff. So there's different people that would take it from different transporters to transport it over, and you had to get certain permits for certain states that you didn't have to get in other states. And it's a pretty big pain in the ass, basically. We got Monsters Inc. right here. We got Finding Nemo. And then we have one of our showrooms. So we have 3 of these showrooms. All of the cars in the middle are our classic collector cars. Most of them are restorations. Some of them they call resto mods. So they'll take a car from the 60s, let's say any one of these cars that doesn't have power brakes or power steering, and they'll just soup it up. So it'll look the exact same on the outside, but if you look inside, they'll add some more amenities to make it more comfortable to drive, or they'll just make them a lot faster and ridiculous. So we have everything, like I said, about 300 cars. So we'll have everything from Mustangs to, which these are just absolutely Buicks and Impalas and 57 Chevys, and all of these cars are just absolutely beautiful to sit in and drive. Hollywood cars, I digress. Yeah, these cars rotate all the time, so you can come in here. If you're a car nut, this is heaven. If you're not a car nut, you'll still like it just because you get to see all these different eras of design and engineering, and what came out when, and it's really neat to learn about these cars. This is the Johnny Cash. Remember the piano and the roller skate? This is Jay Ohrberg's tribute to Johnny Cash. This is a fully functional dragster. Basically, all these wheels turn. You can take this out right now and race it. And if you can see up here, I don't know if it's tuned, but it's a guitar car, basically. Going down, I'll show you some of these. This is the original Miami Vice Ferrari. There were 2 of them in the first series. It's a Daytona Spider. It's what's called it's like a replica or a tribute. They were so rare and hard to get. This guy made 2 of these cars, and he was just a custom car builder. He held a party. I think he owned a car dealership or something, and he had a bunch of customers out to show off these cars. Grizzly Adams happened to be there, and he's like, "My friends are making this new show called Miami Vice. I think these cars would be perfect for it." So he ended up getting these 2 cars on the show. So the first season happens, it becomes a smash hit, and Ferrari's like, "Those aren't even real Daytona Spiders. Like basically did a cease and desist." But the show was so popular, they kind of had this legal battle, and then they said, "You know what? We'll give you, the newer Ferraris that you saw. Those, I think they're Testarossas, the white ones. We'll give you these to use on the shows because their sales went through the roof. So like, we're idiots to be suing these guys, but you have to blow this car up in one of the shows." So they sent this car out. They blew up a fake one, but basically they destroyed this car in like an elaborate scene on the show, and then they switched over to the current Ferraris. This is the original vet from Animal House. This is the one that's on all the movie posters. It's only featured a little bit in the show, but it's one of the most iconic cars for movies ever. This was a friend of the producer of the movie, or the director of the movie. It was just sitting in his barn. He got it for his wife. His wife hated the car, so it sat in the barn. He rented it for one day for like $300, and then it went back in the barn for another 30 or 40 years. So that's pictures of us literally pushing it out of the barn because we couldn't even start it. It was sitting so long. And now it's sitting here. This is a Barris Batmobile. George Barris, that I said earlier, that actually designed all of these cars, became a family friend of the Grams family that owns Volo Museum. So a lot of these cars that you'll see in the collection are from his personal collection. You have
from the TV series.
Right, the Batman TV series. So you even have George Barris and Adam West's signature on this one. So this is it's amazing. That show was on like 2 years, maybe 4. It was only on a couple of years. And it's still one of the most popular cars. Kids, if we put this in a parade, kids go bananas for it. And then grown men in their 60s turn into little kids. It's awesome. Grease Lightning. We got this as well. If you remember the Grease Lightning scene where they're doing the whole restoration dance routine. This is a fully functional hot rod. I love the clear hood. The exhaust is up on the top of the tailpipes, which is super rare, but it sounds awesome.
I learned recently with that car and that scene, John Travolta, one of his stipulations to sign on and do the movie was that he got to perform that number.
Really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be Kanicki's. It's his song. But Travolta, he was like, "No way. This is
this is too cool.
That's not happening."
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
These 2 are also from George Barris's collection. It's from the Monsters TV show. Again, these came out around the same time in the 60s. The Munsters was only on for like 2 or 3 years, and it's still to this day iconic. You have Grandpa Munster's Dragula, and you have the family coach. So after the show was done, there's 2 originals that are still out. They're kind of beat up. A lot of people have taken stuff from them for, souvenirs and whatever. So George Barrison, his lead designer and mechanic, made 3 replicas. And so these are one of the ones that George Barrison, his guys, made. This was, I think, 3 Model Ts squished together to make one long Munster family coach. So you have, you can kind of see in here, there's the back area here, and then the kid or the seat here. But I mean, this is again, these are fully functional, extremely loud, awesome hot rods.
Jim, I want to pause for one moment.
Sure.
It's hard to believe we're almost 40 minutes into this tour.
Really? Okay.
I know we're doing well. But we have some questions that I want to catch up on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking at that Munster car, that's a limousine. We have a question from Norm. He said about 33 years ago he was there, and you had Jackie Gleason's limousine. Do you still have?
Oh wow, we don't have Jackie Gleason's limousine anymore. We have a Donald Trump prototype limousine. Back in the early 80s, he wanted to come out with his own line of Cadillac limousines, and he had a bunch of customized features that no one had. They built 2 of them. And we have one. I think his family has the other one. We have Princess Diana's car. We used to have a lot more cars owned by celebrities. But as we acquire more movie cars and different things, we only have so much space. So a lot of times.
Whoa, you just passed a Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is Jay Orberg, the guy that built the guitar and the other stuff. This is just a tribute car. He didn't drive it or anything, but it's just a fun little tribute car. One of the cars we do have that was owned by a celebrity is Elvis's personal Cadillac. Cadillac didn't make station wagons back then, but it was Elvis. And he was famously known for walking in and buying 5 or 6 Cadillacs and giving them out to his friends. So basically whatever Mr. Presley wanted, he got. So he wanted this extended car for his luggage to go to and from the airport. So this was his personal car for a while.
And the pink, he had to have pink.
Yeah, the pink. And it's got even like the taking care of business, all the little emblems and stuff painted on.
How long have you been collecting these cars, or the whole collection, actually?
The movie collection was probably about 20 years. It took about 20 years to build this collection. And now, most of them are replicas now. Most of them are the screen used cars. And now we have these relationships with Hollywood studios, which is amazing because we're just this little town in Volo. And Brian Graham's, the son of the founder, really took this. This is his baby. This is his, taking it from 1 or 2 cars to really develop. Son of the Mask. This is one of my favorite cars too. This artwork, it's just amazing. You got Knight Rider.
Knight Rider. Wow.
I love the little TV on the inside here.
I'm sure my wife right now is very happy seeing that car. It's a good one.
I think someone asked about the DeLorean. This was not the screen used one. That one's at the Peterson Museum in LA, but this was built by the manufacturers that built these cars. So it's about as close as you get to the real deal.
Who built the Munsters cars?
George Barris.
Thank you.
This was the family wagon from National Lampoon's Vacation.
What a color.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this way, actually, George Barris had his hand in this one too. They had a limited amount of time to do that. But I think, the headlights in front, the 8 headlights, and some of the other features were his idea.
As these cars are sitting around, what do you have to do to maintain them? Just the batteries and their function? Like, do you have a schedule?
We'll pull the batteries out. We try and drain the gas line. You don't want to have old gas in there too long. I try and pull them out, quote unquote, for marketing purposes, but it is good to start them up once in a while and just keep everything moving because they're cars. Morning, Brad.
Morning.
These are the cars from Ford versus Ferrari. This movie came out about 5 years ago with Christian Bale and Matt Damon. These are the hero cars. They did a movie about the famous Le Mans race in 1966. Mm-hmm. Ferrari won like the last 5, and Ford, I think they were starting to go down. They were going broke. And Henry Ford was like, hey, let's be partners. Let me buy your company and we can do great things. And Enzo Ferrari basically told him to pound sand. This pissed off Henry Ford so much that he put all of his money and resources to building these cars to beat Ferrari in the Le Mans race. And I think first, second, and third place. They won that first year, and then they won, I think, 4 or 5 years after that. They just went on this huge dynasty, all out of basically an ego trip. But these cars are the real deal. They're awesome. They're called this is a Ford GT40 because it's 40 inches off the ground. So they're not the easiest to get in and out of.
Question, Jim, with those cars, my takeaway from that film is the sound design. It absolutely is
amazing.
Incredible. What is it like
sound,
if you actually hear the real cars?
It's what you think it is. They're awesome. They're heart pounding. Not only the sound design, but how they shot those movies. There was no special effects on the race scenes. They did special effects for the background, but all of the racing scenes were real race car drivers driving these cars, and they would make 5 or 6 of these cars. So like the blue number 1, they would make 5 of these cars, and they would pop off the bumpers, and they would have I wish I could show you because it's unbelievable. They would have the car like cut in half. They needed to get, they'll have just a bucket of that car for all the scenes where he's shifting and, pressing the gas pedals. And then they'll have another one where the car is literally cut in half. And then they have this big rig with a stunt driver sitting on top of it for the camera scene. So you can get the shots where the car is racing like this. And then they have another one where it's the whole car sitting on a trailer with another big rig with cameras on the things to get the shot of the actors. Back in the 30s and 40s, they would literally rope a dude holding a camera to the hood to get these scenes, and the actual actors would have to drive these cars. Now it's so much safer, but the camera angles and the shots that they get are just unbelievable. And they're going, 150 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour.
Hey, Jim, one of the most famous car movies is Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, that's a good one. We don't have that one. I don't think they've ever had that one. But the Green Hornet and the Smokey and the Bandit are the cars that we get asked about all the time. Ecto 1. It was a screen used for something else, but it wasn't used in Ghostbusters. But these cars, they're called, they're Cadillacs. They're Miller Meteor. They were basically an ambulance. But they only made, I don't know, a few hundred of these when they first came out. So just finding this car by itself is extremely, extremely rare, let alone to have a replica. So you'll see a lot of these cars similar to them, but very few that actually have the Miller Meteor, the fronts and everything on them. They're artwork by itself. Jay Orberg, again, who built a lot of the other stuff, built this tribute to the Ninja Turtles. So it's a hot rod turtle van. Slimer says hello. We got a Blues Brothers car. This wasn't one of the screen used ones. This was a replica, but we did a couple events with Dan Aykroyd, who used this car. So we still have some ties in. That's just a replica. We got the Beverly Hillbillies, Jalopy. We got Terminator 3. This was.
Oh, can we back up to that Beverly Hillbillies, Jim? Hey, Jim, sure. Can we go back to the Beverly Hillbillies? This
is another showroom. Yep. This is another showroom. So all these cars are for sale. Again, in the middle, and then the movie cars are on the outside.
Hey, Jim,
here we go.
I'll ask you, the Wi-Fi signal in here is a little bit weaker, so the quality isn't as sharp. If it just go a little bit more slowly, and we'll be able to focus
slowly.
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it. This was another George Barris creation.
Wow.
All right. Trying to walk more slowly. Yeah, so all these cars in here, we sell about 1,000 to 1,200 cars a year. So if you come in here even once a month, you'll see different cars all the time. There's some neat stories. This was one of the stunt cars. They would drill holes in the car, put explosives in it, patch it up, repaint it, and then they had maps that the director would have with remotes. So it would say in sequential order how the bullets would go off, so that when the car was turning right and it looked like it was being shot up, they would have sequential orders on when the little explosives would go off to make it look like it was being shot up.
Wow. I think we do need to move on from this building. It's very cool to
Is it
see,
bad? Okay.
But it's a lot of blurring colors.
Okay. Let me get more towards the door.
Okay.
Eleanor, if you can see any of the stuff. The two that were asked, we have a Bumblebee, the Beater Bee from Transformers.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And then from Die Another Day, we have one of the Bond cars. This was an Aston Martin. It actually wasn't. I believe it was a Jaguar, and they put an Aston Martin body on it. But they're just toy guns. All of this stuff here looks super cheesy when you're standing up close, but it was, far away shots where it's speeding away. So you don't really need to look inside or to see that it's a real car, and they save a ton of money doing it. We got a Speed Racer.
Is that the new movie?
No, this was from the old movie. All of them from the new movie, that was all CGI.
Oh, that's right.
They have little capsules, but everything was CGI. This was, I think they built like 100 of these for charity, and they sold them for like $100,000 a piece, and then ended up only selling like 10 or something. So they just scrapped the whole project, and it was kind of a flop. But this was just built for I believe it was like some child safety network or something like that. But it's still pretty neat to look inside. This is from Star Wars, the original Star Wars. This is the land speeder. The technology back then, before CGI, this was a go-kart basically that they turned into this land speeder. And then for scenes where it was flying, they would have it on this, it's basically like a merry-go-round. So they'd have it mounted on the end of this merry-go-round that would just spin in circles, and they would shoot it where it would be like right here. So you really couldn't see that it was mounted. So you'll see a lot of the shots that aren't full shots. So he'd jump out of it and you'll even see it bouncing because it's sitting on this merry-go-round mount. Yeah, like here, you could see. I hope that comes in clear. See how he's jumping in, see how it's bouncing? It's basically like a carnival ride that he's sitting on. So you don't really see. This is the only shot that you see fully, and it's literally smoke and mirrors. They put mirrors underneath it and then fill it with some dust and smoke to make it look like it's flying.
And it's a testament to you as well, how you've positioned that car. You're not just parking these things, you have it on the angle. You too are perpetuating that illusion that it's really floating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. We have 4 of the, can you see these? Is this clear over here on this side? These are, we have 4 of the Fast and Furious series. We have 4 of the most sought after cars. This was Paul Walker's. This is the last car he drove in before he died. He actually died in the middle of making Furious 7. And these cars, without CGI, were actually parachuted out of a plane. If you YouTube the making of how they shot these, it's incredible. But these cars were actually parachuted out and landed. Paul Walker died in the middle of shooting this movie, and they had to finish it. So they used Peter Jackson, who made all the Lord of the Rings. They used his studio. And this was, if you know what deep fake is, where they use like an AI technology. So they took Paul Walker's brother, sat him in the scenes, and then Peter Jackson's special effects company basically deep faked his face to finish the movie. So most of the scenes that you see in the movie, all these close-up shots, are basically the first AI in movies. That was his brother with just Paul Walker. They took clips and scenes from other movies and basically figured how to put it on his face to finish the movie.
I believe it was Weta Studios, and the technology was developed using with Gollum to begin with.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
Hey, Jim,
these are, yep.
A quick question, Jim. You've got a wonderful assortment of cars here. Do you have a wish list? Is this something that you wish you could get put into the museum?
Honestly, I mean, for my generation, the Acta 1, the DeLorean, the Knight Rider, and Batmobiles, those were the cars that I grew up with, posters on the wall and playing with the toys. So those were all the cars that I really enjoyed. So there's not really a big wish list, honestly. I mean, I think we we get the Green Hornet, or some of those other famous cars would be awesome. But I mean, the collection I have here, I can steadily nerd out on a regular basis.
Jim, we do have a few 2 requests here. Do you happen to have the Brady Bunch station wagon?
No, that's a good one.
And what about the bus from Speed?
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
We have another showroom that's on the other side. We have the General Lee, the oldest and most original General Lee, the Mystery Machine, and a couple other cars, but that's kind of a far walk. So I'm just going to show you a movie train and a movie plane. And I'm outside, so the reception should be much better too.
Thank you. And Jim, I'm looking at the time. We have about 10 minutes left, and that's probably gonna wrap our day. I can't believe it. I feel like we've barely even skimmed the surface.
I think it's been 5 or 10 minutes. You might want to double check that.
Are those attraction? What are we looking at over there?
Yeah, so we had there's so much stuff, guys. I wish we need like 3 more hours. From Kittyland was a popular amusement park. That's kids can ride. And then we have a full carousel room where everything is hand carved and hand painted. And you can listen to all these are fully functional street orchestras. And this is a hand carved, hand painted also offer rides on. So what I really appreciate about this museum is most of them are look, don't touch, but we actually, want you to, part of the nostalgia is hearing it and smelling it and riding it and remembering it. So I appreciate the fact that they invest a lot of unnecessary money to just keep the stuff, active and keep the nostalgia. And then you see the grandmas telling their kids about it. So that's the special part that I really appreciate about this family.
Absolutely remarkable. They're doing it right. You can see the respect that they have for these memories.
100%.
Yeah. Wow. And your timing could not have been more perfect. We got a request to see the carousel as you walked in.
Yes.
Many moons ago, one of our other road trips, Jim, we went to the Clark Gable Museum. And when we were done, the director said, "Would you like to see Clark Gable's car?" Well, I think you outnumbered him at this point. It was really great seeing Clark Gable's car, but wow, look at all you have there.
Yeah, and it's like I said, we have Princess Diana's car and a few other cars, and it's nice to have those, but the stories behind them, Elvis's car and Princess Diana's car, it was the last time she was on American soil before that tragic accident happened. So she was like being ousted by the Queen, and they didn't supply, kind of like what Meghan Markle's going through right now. They didn't supply her security. So they had like a team of fans and everything pool in and buy her this Rolls Royce just to be in Chicago. She was right outside of Chicago. She was doing a fundraiser. So she was here, and that was the last time, she ever visited the States. So just not only do we have her car, but to have that story behind it is just so much more fascinating to tell people that don't care about Princess Diana, but then learn about the history and everything else, the significance of these vehicles. And the story is as much fun as just having it,
Absolutely. And you really are. You're illustrating these stories and seeing so many replicas or hero cars from the movies. You can see how important cars are in cinema.
100%. Yeah, they're characters. And it's interesting now, outside of Fast and the Furious and a couple other movies, it's not as big. Like in the 80s, Knight Rider, A-Team, like every TV show, Dukes of Hazzard had like the car was part of the, and even a lot of the movies, Ecto 1 and DeLorean, and the car or the movies today don't have as many. It's not as prevalent. So when they do come out, Batmobile, Munster, they all had like a car was part of their main cast. So I'm hoping that this revives that, and we can help preserve that and hopefully inspire that to, make sure that these inventions, they're just beautiful works of art and creativity, and they're a character. So it really adds to the imagination when you're sitting in your room as a kid under a blanket, you're in the DeLorean and you're, time traveling, and hopefully we can inspire that.
It was probably about 10.
What are your hours at your museum?
We're open every day year round, 10 to 5. We have, like I said, 75 acres. So when it's beautiful out, we have double-decker Disney bus rides and trolley rides and all kinds of interactive things throughout the entire museum. But even in the winter, everything is heated. We have 35 acres of, I think, 17 or 18 buildings. On top of this, we have an antique mall with over 300 vendors that's been here forever. It's one of the largest in the country, and that's everything you can possibly imagine. So we have that also on the ground. So you could spend a full day here, and you can also spend a full day just at the antique mall looking at all the cool stuff.
Wow. All right. I'm going to have to, we have so many requests already, Jim, for parts 2 and for part 3.
All right. I passed.
I think this is our first tour we've ever had a request for part 3.
Oh man, you haven't even seen the dinosaurs or the Titanic Museum. There's so much other cool stuff that I'd love to share with you guys. So I'd love to do a part 2 and 3.
Thank you. That sounds great. All right, let me share this so people can see where they can find more online. And if you're nearby, if you're close enough, you need to go check it out for yourselves. Obviously.
Yes. volofun.com. It has all of our attractions separately. You can deep dive a little bit, but go to our Facebook page, go to YouTube or TikTok and check out the stuff, because you'll get a little bit more idea of what the personality is. This is not a normal museum. We're very different. We're very hands-on. We have Sven Gulli is a local horror movie icon that comes out here, and we have different events all the time. So it's more than just a showcase. You're really seeing, there's so much to see here for all ages.
Yep. And as you're saying that, the link is in the chat, so everybody can click on that. I'm also going through Facebook, YouTube. Here's their Instagram account. Oh, interesting.
That's for the auto sales. If you just, I think the Volo auto sales. Yeah. So Volo Museum. Yeah. Volo Museum. That's fun too. If you like any kind of cars, look at that stuff. It's got the best of everything. But yeah, Volo Museum has all kinds of videos and more images, and you can really deep dive into these exhibits and check it out. We have a military museum and mini golf and stuff that I haven't even shown you guys yet. That's awesome.
Wow. Yep. There we go. Volo Museum. And that's up too. Batman. Oh, Catwoman came to pay you a visit.
Yeah.
And then, Facebook, Celebrity Museums. Follow us as well. We're live streaming right now on Facebook. Hello, everybody. We're on Instagram, of course. There we are, promoting Volo Museum. On YouTube, you can find all of our virtual road trips as well as other playlists and short clip videos that we have. We're on X nearly every day. What are we talking about today, Pop?
We're talking about the forgotten Buddy Ebsen and what a career he had. Shirley Temple. Next, he was working with Fess Parker and Davy Crockett, the Disney show, TV show.
Davy Crockett.
That's why I wanted to see the car again.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There he is, and he also did another TV series, Barnaby Jones.
Wow,
what a career he had.
Absolutely. Head over to celebritymuseums.com for all of our upcoming programs. This marks the end of our summer series right here. But thanks to the support and donations, there's that button. Click it right on top if you enjoyed today's program. You can donate and keep our programs free for everyone. This way we can all enjoy these wonderful museums around the country and world. So coming up, we're heading over to the Buffalo Bill Center of the West. Jim, we've been to Buffalo Bill, I believe, at least 5 times.
No, 7.
And I think that 7?
Yeah, 7 times.
But I think you may be a contender to take them off their pedestal. That's the record, is 7 to the Buffalo Bill. But I think you may be able to do it. We'll keep it going.
We're doing a series now, Darren, Friends for the Holidays, visiting with Friends for the Holidays. We're going to places that we've been to maybe 3 or 4 years ago. We haven't seen them in a while. So we're going to Covington, England, to go back to the Phil Silvers Museum. We're going to Wyoming to go to the Buffalo Bill Museum. A new one, the Spam Museum, we're going to.
Minnesota.
We've got quite a few things coming up. The Red Skelton Museum, and
lots of fun things to enjoy. And of course, at the bottom you can click. We have all of our past virtual road trips, which is over 50 now. Over 50 virtual road trips. If you're on Long Island in New York, within driving distance, we have 2 live upcoming programs. We have a family movie night, talking a little bit about the making of Hocus Pocus, a family staple, as well as a showing of it, and the making of the Twilight Zone in person. We spoke about it last time on our Monday program, but here you can see Sal in person talking about the making of the Twilight Zone. Jim, this was outstanding today. Really, thank you. You have exceeded, I think, all of our expectations.
It was my pleasure. It's awesome to meet you guys, and I was going to be productive today, but I think
look at you. You're teasing us with your Titanic behind you.
I'm sure the Spam Museum is wonderful, but maybe you should hang out with us over here.
All right. Well, I'm confident we'll be back. Yes, I see in the chat already parts 4 and 5. We'll get there. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Have a great week, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.